Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This morning I received a really compact but interesting message from Otherworld. Merlin has come in today. I don't normally have much dealings with him, but he's been quite strong recently. And he showed me an image of a vinyl record, but specifically the needle in the groove, a close-up of the needle in the groove of the record, playing the music and it moving very smoothly. And then that became the universe rotating, and I could see all the galaxies and all the stars. And it's a very succinct and compact image, but it carries a lot of meaning in it. Those two symbols layered together, the contact and the rotation and the cycles, is very typical multi-layered sort of communication that I would expect from beings who are from that Brythonic, bardic culture, as Merlin was. And what I found really interesting was the needle on the vinyl record is about contact with a pattern that already exists. You know, the music is not created by the needle, it's just revealed by it. And this follows on from the images the dryads gave us the other day of groves and stone circles and solar systems and galaxies, all space and time being overlaid and a reflection of our physical world and the things we interact with, not just now, but ancestrally as well. And it all mirroring each other, all at the same time and being layered up one on top of the other. And when the image that they showed me widens into the universe revolving, it's the same motion, but just scaled upwards onto a massive, massive scale. You know, they didn't mess about showing me, like the dryads did, galaxies or whatever. It literally went from the needle in the groove to the universe. And they were literally saying, this is the physical and this is the universe, and it's the same, and it's all happening at the same time. And so as the record turns, as the music plays, the planets turn and the galaxies turn. And it speaks to me of cycles rather than straight lines, and the personal and the cosmic mirroring one another. So if the world seems to be in chaos, then what is happening on a universal or otherworld level? Are they in chaos too? And it sort of spoke to me of like a sort of scale shift, Something personal is being reframed as part of a much larger cycle of everything. The universe isn't just the universe we see, it's multi-dimensional, and it's also one of many. Were they showing me the universe, our universe, or were they showing me the universe of all universes, everything? And yet they were showing me this small mechanism and the vast cosmos share the same motion. And it's really symbolic language that's often Otherworld saying what feels individual also belongs to a much wider human, archetypal, and energetic process. So it speaks to me of an awareness of recurrence, because the record is just circles within circles within circles. And that reminds me of the Bronze Age sort of labyrinth, and the swirl patterns. What are they called? Dip, circle, and dip, or something like that you get in sort of Neolithic stone passage tombs and carved into into rock that are now thought to be meditative, like Buddhist monks do their sand um, patterns that they do, their mandala sort of sand patterns. That is a meditative process. It spoke to me like that. There was sort of this overlaying of meditation, of our meditation and our purpose, our groove in the record, our music, our song that's predetermined, and this universal consciousness all being part of the same thing. And this message has been coming through a lot recently, but it seemed very, it's almost like they don't need to explain now. It was very succinct. They were like, here it is, you understand it. And I wondered if you're sensing that something in your life or your inner work is clicking into track, if your experience is starting to make more sense, if you're seeing more synchronicities that funnel you into your groove, um, you know, but it also speaks of being mindful of the frequency you hold, because if it's a song, then it has a set tempo and a speed. If you play a record at the wrong speed, it sounds all wrong. So it speaks to me of going slow and steady and at the pace that you feel is correct and at the frequency that keeps you happiest and things like that. It's a personal thing. Music on a record is a personal thing, isn't it? If you not all records play at the same speed. That's what I was thinking when they showed it to me. So it's talking about your experience as an individual and staying in your groove and staying in your flow, and that then influencing the macro, the universe in the right way, and it all fitting together. So, because the needle doesn't force the music, it allows the music. It simply is a conduit to enable you to hear it or to interpret it, because it doesn't play it, the speakers play it, the needle interprets it, doesn't it, into sound. But are they also saying that physical form, what the physical world we live in, has a frequency, has a vibration, has a sound, and that we need to listen for it? I think the vinyl analogy is quite interesting as well, because if you it reminds us of sort of unintended consequences, because if you try to jump grooves, if you try to jump out of your groove on a record and force it across to another one that perhaps you want to be on, if you're listening to an album on vinyl and you force it across to another one without lifting it off carefully and putting it down where you want it carefully, you scratch it and ruin the whole record. So, is this a reminder as above, so below? To be mindful of your actions, because they have an influence, like the ripples on the pond they showed us the other day. They don't just have an influence within our world of unintended consequences, but they have a resultant outcome in Otherworld as well. And it also made me think, if you get dust and debris on a record, the needle gets stuck and it jumps and it bounces, and you end up stuck in the same part over and over again, or you can't hear clearly. And this sort of reminded me of sort of spiritual hygiene, spiritual cleanliness, keeping your space clear, keeping your space clear within yourself as well. Being mindful of your thoughts, doing the work, doing meditation, whatever form that might take. That might be the physical form of doing something, of tracing a circle, tracing the labyrinth, or it might be sitting silently in meditation. It might be music, it might be chanting the mantra. This is another part of the message that I hadn't even thought of until now. So the analogy to shadow work and following your joy and keeping good spiritual hygiene is clear, I think, as well in this message. And it asks us, If you knew that your life was a song that was already recorded and you were simply the conduit to allow it to be played out loud, would you force your way through it or would you stop and listen more closely? And it's the idea of the world and the universe simply turning on a hidden axis that's steady and harmonious. And the groove is fixed and circular and repeating. And the needle's role is simply to follow it closely enough that the sound, the song can emerge. Sorry, the dogs are in. So we're sensing that events and emotions or themes are moving along a track that feels familiar and inevitable, not fate per se, but in a rigid sense, because there's still parallel grooves, isn't there, that you could kind of carefully move along to, but more like a rhythm and a harmony. And we've been told before by Otherworld that we're the key. So are we the needle? We are the needle. We are the conduit. And something's playing again. There's this predefined notion to it, and also this repetitive notion to it. It's going round and round in circles. So something's repeating itself, something's playing again. But I think now Otherworld's asking us to listen differently. The task is not to stop the record turning, the universe turning, the what is unfolding, the turning, but to find out where your own point of contact sits and listen to the song it wants you to hear. I'm just going to pull some cards on that because I wondered if Otherworld wanted to add anything to that. I'm specifically going to ask Merlin because he's been coming in today a lot. So, Merlin, would you like to add anything to that message? My table is beside me today, so I might turn so they don't go flying. Merlin, is there anything you want to add to that message or that analogy that Otherworld gave us today about the record? Oh, look at that. The Queen of Pentacles, and that is a lotus. Let me just have a little look and make sure you can see. That is a lotus. Now, the lotus is a very interesting analogy for spiritual awakening because the lotus is something that has its roots in thick, silty mud, the debris of organic matter that's decomposed and compounded over years and years and years. So the lotus speaks to us of ancestral heritage, of all the shadow and sludge we've been through, and yet still flowering and opening up. Also, the lotus is, an analogy for the crown chakra. Well, the lotus petals is the chakras, isn't it? So this very much connects, I think, to a spiritual analogy. But that is on the Queen of Pentacles card, which is a very earthy, grounded, nurturing card. It's also for me that kind of divine feminine as well. Um, motherly, motherly. So what is that? What's the other card that came out? The Tower, the Rhino. For some reason, that wants me to say the bull in the china shop, even though it's a rhino. There's that kind of energy of everything being smashed to bits and this almost like using a hammer to crack a nut. Perhaps we've got to that point where Otherworld's like, we need to get in the bulldozers here. I've got dog hijack now as well. It's all going on. That's my personal tower moment. So we've got the image here of two really juxtaposing things in that we've got the lotus and the grounded, nurturing mother, and the bull in the china shop, the rhino in the china shop, the tower, it all being destroyed. To me, the tower is a sudden, unexpected, destructive moment. Very fast, very sudden. It's the hand coming out of the sky and going, zzzt, you know. But the fact that it's come out with the Queen of Pentacles here, the Queen of Earth, is massively reassuring, I think. Hugely reassuring. That however bad it seems, even though our feet might be in the sludge, the end result is going to be beautiful and grounded and rooted and strong and nurturing. I always like to have a peek at the underlying card when I get two out like that. There you go. Six of Cups, Six of Water is underneath. And the image there of the penguin with its baby, which interestingly with penguins, it's often the father who looks after the baby like that, which is very interesting as we've got the divine feminine come out as the overarching. So there's almost this sense that what is happening at the moment, either in your personal life or in the world, yes, it's a tower. Yes, it's all falling apart and being smashed to pieces, and or something really sudden and good might have happened to you, but it's happening for the right reasons. Trust it. You're going to open up and bloom. And there's this feminine aspect, but the underlying energy, it's almost like Otherworld treating us like their baby and nurturing us and looking after us. There's this underlying theme of nurture, like it being good for us, good for our souls. It's a developmental thing we're going through. And I think it's lovely that this to me, it can be nostalgia and wishing you were back in the past. And I think a lot of us at the moment are kind of looking back on the last few years and thinking it was easier before. Or things were better before, but I think as you get older, that's also something that you do. And if you think about it, there'll be things that were good and bad. But I think with what's going on in the world, it's very tempting to kind of look back and things to go back to the way they were. But with the lotus coming out, we're being told actually you're shooting upwards now, you're opening up. And there is this energy of both this nurturing mother and father energy, this balance of masculine and feminine behind this. It's almost like it's time to grow up now, guys. It's time to grow up and see both sides, to stop putting yourself all in one basket. Stop trying to compartmentalize yourself and say to yourself, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I do. It's asking us actually to be more flexible. Yes, stay in that groove on the vinyl record, but are you actually listening to what your song is supposed to be if you're going to sing it? Are you listening to the tempo? Are you going too fast or too slow? Are you singing a rock song and actually you should be taking it easy and having some easy listening going on? Is your image of who you think you are really who you are? And maybe it's a time to take another look at that. That record is fixed and predetermined. Are you singing out of tune? Let's see if, Merlin, is there anything else you want us? It's almost asking us to be like work within the scaffolding of our life, but listen more closely. That's too many. Merlin, was there anything else you want us to know about the message today? That one. The Six of Pentacles. This is the Six of Earth in this deck. This is giving and receiving and kindness, being kind to one another. And elephants live in a herd, don't they? This is reminding us we're all, excuse me, voices going. Oh my goodness me, throat chakra. This is reminding us that we're long lived and your actions have consequences. Be kind to one another. See yourself in others because you are part of a herd. You are all wise. You do know if you stop and listen. The answer is within you, but it's also in those you interact with. What are the other people you interact with bringing to you? What do you need to learn from those interactions? There's almost a vibe here of, you know, what was made for you was meant for you. Um, and perhaps understanding the wider lessons in your interactions with others and meeting them differently, meeting them in a slow and steady, controlled, kind manner, and seeing how that changes the interaction as well. The underlying card here is again one of sort of flexibility, discernment. This is the Seven of Cups. Now, that can be illusion and delusion. This can be deluding yourself. But that brings us back again to who do you really think you are? Are you actually listening to your body, to what your dreams are telling you, to what the synchronicities are trying to nudge you into? Are you responding to those things? Are you responding to what your guides are putting in your path and what the universe is putting in your path? This is a jellyfish is a very flexible creature. Um, I think this is more about discernment and listening, which is, what the record message was about, wasn't it? It was about paying attention and slowing down in order to do that. And that's a message we've had before recently as well. Okay, is there anything else from this deck you'd like to tell us, Merlin, for the collective here? Yes. Yes, there is. Out it comes. And it's another fish. It's watery. That's interesting. It's another fish. It's a beautiful fish. It's a beautiful koi. And this is the Ace of Cups. This is an open heart. An open heart. And in the Rider-Waite deck, a divine contribution to that open heart. Perhaps this is our tower, is actually to realize that we've lived perhaps even many lives, not actually listening to the song we're supposed to be singing, and ignoring it and following our head and doing what we're supposed to have done. And yeah, I hadn't even looked at the other card when I said that. And it's a bird in a cage. Maybe a pretty cage, maybe a gilded cage, maybe a very nice house and a very nice car and a good job on paper, but you hate it. Restriction, powerless, victim. It's time to open that door to that cage. Listen to the music you're being played. And the underlying here, Yes. I think there we go. It's exactly what we were saying. It's the Nine of Pentacles. That's the lady who has it all. That's a lady who's reached the top of her game and she's sitting on all her coins in her beautiful garden. Interestingly, with a falcon on her arm in the Rider-Waite deck. But this falcon's in a cage. Are you in a cage of your own making? A beautiful gilded cage of your own making. Do you have it all on paper? Should you be grateful, but you're not? I think you have to ask yourselves why. What is there in your life that you should be grateful for, but you're not? And ask yourself why. Why is it not making you happy? Are you singing the wrong song? Are you singing the song too fast or too slow? Are you too scared to even put the needle on the vinyl? I think this speaks of courage, of being your true selves. 100%. This is about becoming who you are truly supposed to be. And that might not be something amazing, you know? It's just about being true to yourself and following your joy and letting go of those things, potentially material things that keep you in your gilded cage but don't make you happy. They've asked us many times recently to listen, and this very much is following on from that, about the trappings, holding on to the trappings of wealth of our lives. And that perhaps a tower is going to come, a tower moment where those things are taken away or they change or our view of them changes. And we realize that it never really fulfilled us. And I think Otherworld today is asking us to ask ourselves those questions and then take action if we need, even if it's a tiny step towards what does make you happy. And it doesn't have to be anything huge or life-changing. But if you take one step forward in the right direction, then you'll slip into that groove and there'll be more and more synchronicities or dreams, or even maybe your own voice will become louder and you'll be able to hear your own song clearer. But whatever that is, that's what Otherworld is asking us to do today. And that's the message that Merlin brings today.